We are back on Taking Care of Business on Kern Radio, News Talk 1180 and 1230 KGEO and 1410 KERI. How about that? Is that better?
We're talking to a lot of people here.
I'll tell you what, we are a syndicated show. You know, it's surprising. It's many more than we both thought. It's amazing how many people come up to us and say, hey, I heard your show last weekend. Now, this week, I don't know, Harley. We'll see what kind of a draw you've been so far.
Oh, it'll be huge.
Oh, I think so. I mean, so far it's been an interesting interview.
Because of Clay. It's going to be huge.
Well, Clay's been awake, which is abnormal for him during these interviews.
Has he been awake?
Yeah. How can you tell?
I love you guys. I love you both.
I have an interesting question for you, and it seems a little
doubt
silly. Well, it seems a little silly when you first ask it, but there's two people running, and one of you has to get over 50% to win the election now. But is there a chance that neither one of you will get 50% in this election?
No, there is not a chance, because I'm confident that we're going to get well over 50%.
I mean, as a group or you individually?
Me and my candidacy individually, we have real momentum now.
You know, Harley, he was right. It is a silly question.
What? It's possible.
We need a statistician here instead of you, Koerner.
Actually, it was a test.
I think we're better off when Clay's asleep. Open the can, pour the sauce. He's helping. So, a couple things I wanted to ask you. One is, you reminded me of something when you were talking about the unions. You know, on Clay, wake up. On June 5th, there was a big thing going on in Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
The recall for Walker.
Yeah.
So, do you think we're going to see a trend in the primary in June that's going to carry on through November, where you're going to have people that have finally said, okay, that's it, enough's enough, we have to cut back on costs, and there'll be a wave of people coming in, people like you, people like, you know, the recall failing for Walker. Do you see that coming?
Well, I hope it is. I hope that Scott Walker prevails in Wisconsin. The whole country is going to watch that one, and that'll be a bellwether for public employee union power and union power in general. I mean, the unions have done everything they can to override the reforms that Walker brought in, and now to get rid of Walker. But in California, we still have a state legislature and constitutional officers who are controlled by a coalition of trial lawyers, public employee unions, and radical environmentalists. And California is in a real mess, with a $16 billion deficit this year, and a legislature, a Democratic legislature, and constitutional officers who will not address the fundamental issues because they're under the control of the public employee unions. And we have similar issues here, and that's why I have made that the centerpiece of my campaign, that I am absolutely independent and will stay independent of public employee unions. I have no aspiration for higher office, and I will represent the people and the taxpayers of the 4th District. And we have to address this issue of the power of public employee unions at every level and every elected office.
Now, we've been involved in this with several different programs to stop special interest money now, which is going to be on the ballot in November. They're looking not only at labor unions but at corporations. Do you think it's equally as fair to have corporations not have the kind of influence that labor unions have in the political process?
I make the distinction between public sector unions and private sector unions. I think that public sector unions are essentially taking taxpayer money through dues and giving it to favorable political candidates. So, to me, that is wrong. But private sector unions is a different situation, because the employees are paying dues with money that they have acquired from private sector employers. In the public sector union issue, what we effectively have is taxpayers funding political campaigns of unions, of candidates who are friendly to public employee unions, because the taxpayers are paying the salaries of the public employees, and then that money goes right through dues to favorable candidates. So my issue is with the power of public employee unions, not private sector unions.
Okay, now I'm not that familiar with private sector unions when it comes to this, but do we have the same problem with them in terms of having donations go to the union, going to a particular political party, whether you want them to or not as an individual? Isn't that wrong regardless?
Sure it is. Sure it is. But I think that private sector union members should have a right to vote by secret ballot. Well, I guess it couldn't be secret, but they have the right to vote on right to choose whether their dues money goes for political purposes, for political candidates. And they should be able to vote yes or no without fear of retribution.
We're having a conversation with Harley Pinson, 4th District Supervisor candidate.
Mr. Pinson, I'd like to sort of go down another track right now. What do you think of high-speed rail?
Oh, very nicely done. Another track.
Thank you.
I like that, Clay.
I've been thinking about it all day.
Clay, I think you're trying to railroad me on this issue. But I'm just going to steam ahead with it. High-speed rail should be stopped. It's been a consistent opinion of mine. It's destructive to Bakersfield, Wasco, Northwest Kern County, through the downtown, because one, it will take out several hundred homes, churches, businesses, and it will never be finished because the federal government doesn't have the money to finish it. The state government, as I mentioned, is $16 billion in the hole this year. So what we will be left with is a mess from the construction of it. And Bakersfield will be fodder for late-night comics who will say that, yeah, Bakersfield really is the end of the train to nowhere. So we need fewer cheerleaders in Bakersfield on this issue, and we need more leadership. I've been a consistent opponent. My opponent, Mr. Couch, was for the high-speed rail before he was against it. And now his opinion, his view on it is sort of muddled. I was in a forum with him, and he said he voted against it finally in January on the Bakersfield City Council, but it's inevitable, so we have to get ready for it. Well, it isn't inevitable. He's misinformed. The legislature has to approve the issuance of the bonds. So Mr. Couch and other members of the Bakersfield City Council should stop being cheerleaders for this and should tell Michael Rubio, Senator Rubio, to vote against the issuance of the bonds. That will stop it. We need leadership on this issue. We don't need placeholders. We need leadership.
So hasn't the county come out and voted against, the supervisors voted against high-speed rail?
Well, they did vote against it, but they haven't stopped it.
How are they going to stop it?
Well, they can do several things. As I said, they can provide leadership, public leadership, and ask Senator Rubio to vote against the issue of the bonds. The second thing they can do is 6 or 7 months ago, the county of Kings and the city of Hanford filed a lawsuit to stop the high-speed rail project on the grounds that what the high-speed rail authority is planning to build now is fundamentally different from what the voters approved in 2008 with the $35 million bond issue.
Who's going to buy one of these bonds? They're a terrible investment.
Well, they'll have to pay a very high interest rate because it'll be backed by the full faith and credit of the state of California.
That's a risk in itself.
And that's why you don't see private investment. Who would want to? There is no private investment for this.
No.
So nobody's willing to take the risk with private money.
It's going to die anyway.
Well, it is. But the issue for Bakersfield and Kern County and Wasco is the plan of the High-Speed Rail Authority is to gut this community and leave nothing behind that is workable. No trains, because they can't afford trains, no money to run the trains. The purpose of the High-Speed Rail Authority is to perpetuate the High-Speed Rail Authority and the jobs of the people and the consultants, some of them locally, who work for the High-Speed Rail Authority. And we need fewer cheerleaders here in Kern County for the high-speed rail. We need civic leadership to oppose it, and if we don't strenuously oppose it and consistently oppose it and vocally oppose it, we'll never know if we were able to stop it or not. We need to act. We need to lead. I offer that leadership.
Well, Harley, it's been a fascinating 2 segments, as always. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. I wish you would have brought your lovely wife in, but what are you going to do? I guess we'll have to settle for you for these 2
Well,
segments.
she's better on TV than she is on radio.
Well, you're definitely better on radio than you are on TV. So is Clay, for that same matter. But
Yeah.
But
has this been 2 segments already?
Yes, it has. Time flies when you're having fun. And we want to wish you the best on Tuesday.
I'm glad you want to wish me the best. We are having a great time and working really hard. I've spent probably 50 hours door to door myself, knocking on doors, and getting a great response. We have a lot of passion on our side. We have a lot of committed conservatives who are interested in maintaining a conservative viewpoint on the Board of Supervisors, and I don't think we will get that if my opponent is elected.
And we will talk to you after the election next week.
Good.
We'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Kern Radio, News Talk 1180.